Hello there everyone, and welcome to a new Matplotlib tutorial on the Future Programmer YouTube channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about creating three-dimensional data visualizations using Python's Matplotlib package. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So far, all of the data visualizations that we have created using Matplotlib have been two-dimensional. Now, Matplotlib also supports three-dimensional plotting, which means creating graphs with three dimensions. So three axes, the x-axis, the y-axis, and the z-axis. To start off, let's import NumPy as MP and Matplotlib's pyplot module as PLT. To create 3D plot in Matplotlib, we need to create a pyplot.figure object with an axis whose projection is set to 3D. Now this can be done simply as shown here. So figure is equal to plt.figure, and then we call the add subplot method of this figure object, passing in projection as 3D, and we can store this object inside of a variable called ax. If I run this code inside of Jupyter Notebook, we would see this empty three-dimensional plot right here. The problem with using Jupyter Notebook to create 3D plots is that by default it does not support user interactivity. Now there are ways to add this to Jupyter Notebook, but they're slightly more complicated than we need. So we can simply just write and run our Python code in a Python file, a .py Python file, to support operations like zooming and panning so we can see our 3D plots in multiple different angles. A very common plot in 3 dimensions is scatter plots, and the only difference between 3D scatter plots and 2D scatter plots is the projection is equal to 3D thing that we just talked about, as well as the addition of a z-axis. So we can pass in z-axis data, we can set z-axis labels, etc. So let's create a figure and an axis just like we talked about in the cell right here. And we can call the .scatter method of the ax object, passing in x values, y values, and z values. We can also pass in our keyword arguments such as marker is equal to x, color is equal to green, etc. In addition to setting the x label and the y label, we can now also pass in a value for the z label. We can also call the set title just like before, and last but not least, calling plt.show is going to display this graph right here. Now I can't zoom around and look around this graph in Jupyter Notebook, so I can just copy this code and paste it into a Python file right here. So I have created a Python file 3dplots.py, and I can run this file using the terminal. So 3D plots, and we'll see this plot right here. I can look around this plot. I can even zoom in and out by clicking this button right here and using the right mouse button and moving my mouse up and down will allow me to zoom in and out. And let's take a look here. So we can see that this point right here is going to be 0, 0, 0. And we have also up here 9, 9, 9. So we have a 3D scatter plot shown right here. It's very similar to create other types of plots. So we're just going to talk about how to create a line plot, since practically they're all similar to each other and similar to creating two-dimensional plots. So we create the figure and the axis, or the axes. We create some z data, some x data, and some y data using NumPy. And we pass these data into ax.plot, and calling plt.show is going to see, we're going to see this coil right here. I can copy this code once again into our Python file, and we will see the same thing that we just saw, but now we can zoom around and look at this plot from, let's say, above, or maybe from the side, or from other perspective that you would like to see this at. Just for fun, to summarize everything, we're going to just create a three-dimensional plot with both scatter plots and the line plot. So figure, axes, just like before, x, y, z, pretty much the same data as before, just with slightly different parameters. And we have ax.plot, x, y, z with red as the color. And here we are just adding some noise to x and adding some noise to y. and plotting x, y, and z using ax.scatter, a scatter plot. Calling plt.show is going to display this graph right here, which we can also, once again, copy into our Python file, which would reveal a plot that looks like this, which I can scroll around and look at. Now, if you would like to see more examples of 3D plotting, you can take a look at this link right here, which will also be linked in the description down below. Three-dimensional plotting in Matplotlib really opens a door to fancier data visualizations and allows us to better display data when they have 3 dimensions. And that is it for this video on the Future Programmer YouTube channel about 3D plotting using Matplotlib. If you found this video to be helpful, please consider subscribing down below to this channel for more programming content. And with that said, thank you very much for watching this video, and I hope to see you in more programming tutorials.